So the purpose of this video is going to be to see just how easy it will be and how much we can actually power and charge with this type of setup. And I'll have a couple testers here that I'm going to test, just make sure the voltage is coming through. There's a couple things I wouldn't suggest most people who don't like messing with any kind of current do, because this is all temporary. But as you can see, I use these all the time just as mostly as shutoffs. So that will allow me to shut off the solar panel at any time that I want to, and it'll make it much more safe when I'm connecting all this stuff. This is the 36 volt to 12 volt DC converter, and right now I'm running just the regular USB adapter. I had one over here before, and then I have it hooked up to a USB hub, a small one here, so I can connect multiple devices and either charge them or run them. And I have a couple of these battery bank things here. If somebody doesn't want to spring the money on something like this or even bigger, these, not only can you get them on sale all the time really cheap for like 10 bucks, promotional. If anybody knows, a ton of companies give these things away for promotional things. This happened to be two of them that were from my wife's company for a promotion, and they basically give them away. Sometimes we're selling them cheap for charity. I think they may have been $4 or $5 a piece. These are kind of handy because you can then charge your phone off it afterwards. You can run little solar lights if you have them. USB solar lights are very, very cheap, and running something like that off of that is very, very easy. So what do you do if you lose power, or if you have a small off-grid setup and you're basically running on a generator most of the time, or if your generator fails, even your house power goes down and you have some kind of storm? And what do you do if you don't have any of that stuff and you don't want to spend a lot of money on that kind of stuff? For about $100, you could actually put something together that you can stash away, and when the sun comes out, you can run and charge all of your 12 volt devices, charge a little battery power banker like this, little battery banks like these, and be able to then have some kind of power throughout the night. Well, I do a bunch of tinkering with solar and different setups, smaller. Some are getting a little bigger. I actually did that EG4 mini split over there and had that running off 24 volt solar panels in series. I had bought a pallet of them, and what got me thinking though, I did this golf cart here for a buddy of mine and changed it over to lithium, one large lithium 36 volt battery, and I needed a 12 volt lights and horn setup. So I bought one of these 36 to 12 volt reducers, and they oftentimes vary from the voltage they can use. I think this one goes from like 20 volts or something to 48 volts or 50 volts or something like that. I'd have to double check the specs on that, but it's somewhere in that range. So I had a pallet of all those 24 volt panels, and as you can see, I set one up over here real quick just for testing. Now these, you can find these pallets, sorry, not the pallets, but the actual solar panels on Facebook Marketplace, like 50 bucks a piece all day long. They're always out there. Now, as you can see, I've got a couple of the Renogy small 12 volt ones there. That's for another experiment that I was actually working on as well inside the garage. And I got a 200 watt up there. That's always usually hooked up. Right now it's temporarily unhooked for that small experiment. But this So for 50 bucks for this panel, and this panel is, we can check the specs here, 240 watt solar panel. Your voltage at Pmax there, the voltage 30 volts, open circuit voltage is 37.2 volts. Okay, so your fuse rating is a 15 amp rated fuse. Now that, say 50 bucks, you can buy one of these. I think I paid like 17 or 18 bucks for it, and I have various, you know, different adapter type things. All this I have currently set up just temporary, so I don't have any, you know, fancy connectors set up with it, and I don't have any of the heat shrink connections, all that. So what I'm doing is just going to have it connected just for the testing. Once the sun comes out, I'm actually going to take my solar tester, and I've used that in a bunch of other different videos. Thing works really, really well, and I'm going to test the wattage and coming out of that solar panel directly at the panel. And then, because there's going to be a little bit of line loss, and I think this is 12 gauge wire I had used before for something else. And then I'm going to test down here at the ends, see what I'm getting, just so in case there is a little bit of line loss, we can get an accurate assessment of what the power is coming to this. It's a good setup for somebody that can spend 100 bucks, throw a bunch of adapters together, keep it in like a little shed, have it all set, and you can use this solar panel only, no batteries, no nothing, to directly power your devices. Now, not only can you directly power those devices, you can charge your stuff. You can charge something like this, a small battery backup. Doing a quick sample test strip on the meter. As you can see, it's all cloud, no sun right now. So this solar panel under all cloud, let's see if we can get a better look at that, is putting out 42 point something watts, 42.42 watts. That is by far better than a 100 watt solar panel will put out with no sun, just clouds. And with the 100 watt panels, oftentimes, whether it's a foldable panel or just a small panel like this small panel alone is probably 75 to 100 bucks. That kit I think was 180 bucks for just the two. So one used $50 solar panel is already putting out a decent amount of watts with pretty much zero sun out, as you can see. All right, I'm going to do the test. I just turned the power on. Do the same test with the clouds coming from out there, and with this, I don't know, that's probably 25 foot of cable of 12 gauge. So that is, we are running, let me hit it to auto. .36 volts at 35 watts, and that's about the same because it's now even cloudier. There was barely any sun getting through those clouds, and I was at like 36 change watts a minute ago outside, right before I unplugged this meter and changed it over to this. So we're getting about the same, whether or not we're using this cable and or coming from there. We're not getting a ton of line loss. All right, so I decided that I'm going to run this test when it's cloudy. I think most people who do this solar stuff run their tests when the sun's out, totally bright, to try to get the best results, to make it look like, you know, that to give the best chance of all these things working. And I'm going to run this right now with that pretty much, as you can see out here, no sun coming through there. It's pretty much all clouds. So I just kick this on, and just to go through this again real quick, that's a shut off. It's 100 amp, but here this is a 20 amp setup for the 20 amp fuse, and here I have another 10 amp setup for that little adapter I'm running to power this USB. So you can see that USB hub here is all lit up. So let's now start connecting things. This is a like rechargeable camping light. So we'll connect that in. And as we can see, we are now charging that. We have here one of these power banks. Let's plug that in here. And starting to charge that. Okay. Here I have an old tablet that I use sometimes when I'm down in the basement shop working just for music. Let's plug that in. Let's see if we're going to start getting charged. That one usually takes a second. Yep, here it goes. That's starting to charge up now. So already I have these three things running or charging, and this thing has a light that pops on, 3 different levels, or it opens up for like a camping light. This running off of that one solar panel on a really cloudy day, no batteries, no solar charge controller, no nothing. Easily less than $100 into this. Like I said, $50 for a panel, you can get this for $20, 70. Yeah, a little miscellaneous if you want to have some adapters and whatnot. Easily under $100. It may cost you a little bit more to get an adapter for this. I'm actually going to throw this on in a few minutes. What I'll do is, after these things charge up, I'm going to disconnect this, and I will actually connect those alligator clips directly to those wires, just so we can show that it's going to charge up a small power bank as well. No big expense, and really it's something you can keep, like I said, tucked away in the shed. So this little setup here is a little sketchy. I wouldn't suggest people do that. I just did it real quick because it's the only adapter I have for this unit here. I left my regular USB type adapter up in New Hampshire. So I'm running it directly with alligator clips to an adapter. So now I have added in the small battery bank, my phone, still have all the other things connected to here, and everything is charging directly from that one solar panel without any batteries, without any inverters or anything doing all the work. Not a bad setup for somebody that wants it. So things are still charging. I'm going to leave them, just going to let it go. And like I said, I got this basically from the idea of this whole golf cart thing. There's no difference to me running a 36 volt lithium battery in there that with the 12 volt converter than it would be a solar panel. It's basically, it's a power source. It doesn't really matter. So there should be no difference whatsoever as to what you hook up to it in order to produce your juice. And from what I'm seeing right here, I'm definitely going to keep this type of setup around. I'm going to make it a better setup. I will end up, putting all these wires together correctly, wiring it up nice, using some heat shrink ends, getting it all so I can easily take it apart, put it back together, maybe making something to mount that DC converter to, and I'm going to definitely keep it around. Like I said, I have extra of those solar panels. I'll keep one of those extra solar panels stashed as well. This can basically be the difference between if somebody has a problem with the batteries or doesn't have the batteries, of being able to actually charge up systems in an emergency.